Hi, welcome back to Orlando Experience. So today we are at Universal Studios Florida. Main reason we are here is just for Horror Nights construction. Because I have heard stuff that's going up in scare zones. For the most part, a lot of it's been announced now. We are still missing a few scare zones, I think 3 right now, and we are still missing a house, even though speculation's been spot on this year, so we'll probably just talk about it while we're in there too. But we're gonna head in, we're gonna look around the scare zone construction and stuff like that. I'll talk a little bit about the scare zones and all the different houses and where they're speculated to be all around and stuff like that. So we'll head in, we'll probably be heading straight towards like kind of Minions and head all the way around, then end up back in Hollywood at the end. So not Horror Nights related, but they do have a sign up for the Paris 2024 Olympics. They do have a special like souvenir mug, like one of the ones you go and refill at the freestyle machines right now for the Olympics. So right to the left is Minions as we kind of come in. Right over here, right behind me is where we come across where our first house entrance will be. So right behind me is our first house entrance. This is speculated to be Monstruos. That was a fan favorite in Hollywood. It's the Monsters of Latin America. I believe they're getting the second version this year. We're only getting the first one. But it was received very well, so I'm very excited for this one. I definitely say the speculation map doesn't seem 100% correct. There's a few areas that I'm like, I don't see that being there. But this is one of the spots that I do see this being here. Just kind of fits the feel of the front house here. That will get charged at the beginning and then be a little slower later on. I'm fairly excited for this house. Obviously, I haven't even watched a video of it, but I'm assuming it's very good because they wouldn't bring over a house from Hollywood if it wasn't really well received, and I know it has been. So have high expectations for this house. So we'll talk about the front scare zone when we come back. They actually just announced another scare zone as of today. It is Wednesday the 25th right now. So they did announce another scare zone today. So we'll talk about that. It's kind of foggy where scare zones will actually be. We can definitely speculate kind of on a couple of them just because of the size that they have to be. But for the most part, that's kind of more up in the air. Man, I don't know if I don't look up enough, but I don't remember that sign ever being there. Big old illumination sign on the back of the painted Transformers building over here. But we're coming across our second house entrance. That's going to be our giant cattle pen. And this is another one that I think is going to be pretty dead on because it's going to need the big line. They do have a bunch of stuff up for the Paris Olympics over here too. So the entrance of the house is somewhere around where I'm standing right now. It's going to be the one over here in front of the stage. This thing always has a massive cattle pen. It makes sense for this year because this is going to be a quiet place. I anticipate this being, if not the most popular house, within the top 3 pretty easily. I think this is going to be like almost like the Stranger Things where you're going to come every night, and this is going to be the 2.5 hour, 3 hour wait kind of house. So it makes sense that they're putting it here. I think that's smart if it does go in here, obviously. I'm excited for it. It's kind of unclear what it's kind of based off of. I know obviously the movies, but with the new one coming out, it seems like it might be kind of based off of that new one, but they also are trying to kind of base it off maybe the old one. I would prefer the old one, but I don't know how well it would work inside of a house just because how quiet it is. It would kind of ruin a lot of scares because you kind of hear it coming, because it's the only noise in the house. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of based off the new one, though I don't think we know super amount of information about that, but I would say it is based off of the new one. But I'm very excited. This is definitely my top IP house. We'll talk about the other IP houses as we go. If you didn't know this year, I thought I would mention real quick, there's actually more original houses than IP houses. Usually there's 5 and 5. If you count Monsters as an IP house, I don't know. I feel like it's in a weird gray area where it is kind of an IP, but it's also kind of their thing. I don't know. But it's, other than even if you count Monsters as an IP, there's only 4 IP houses this year. So I'm very excited for that. But Quiet Place, very excited for this. Excited to see anything come up probably within the next month. It's gotta be because, Horror Nights opens in about a month. So we'll definitely see some more stuff as we come back for the next 3 weeks or so. So we're kind of coming up on this corner over here in the New York area. this is the crazy corner. This is where 3 of the houses normally are, and it is showing 3 houses back here this year. So I'll kind of move when I'm talking, but I'm gonna walk right over here to talk about the first one. All right, so the first house we come across when you walk back into this corner is actually gonna be right behind me at that entrance to Jimmy Fallon there, where that worker's standing right now. That's gonna be Ghostbusters, A Frozen Empire. So I haven't actually watched the new movie. I do anticipate it being obviously themed off the new movie, but I definitely see it being a little more vague because they know they just want to catch the Ghostbusters crowd, and I know it wasn't as well received. I will have to watch it before walking to the house though. I'm excited for it. I think I didn't do the Ghostbusters house before. That was one of the years I didn't go, so I don't really know what to expect. I watched a lot of videos of it when it was, you know, there, and I really like the look of it. I think this will be kind of the fun house this year. Every year I consider one of the houses like kind of like a fun house. Last year it was the Sasquatch one. I can't remember what it was named. The Campsite Terror one. Just because it was a little goofy. And then the year before that, I would say was The Weekend. I always consider there's one house that isn't super scary. It's more kind of fun, you know. So very excited. I think Ghostbusters is always a good fun time here at Horror Nights. So right behind me, sorry, sun's right in my eyes, is going to be one of our house entrances right below Rip Ride Rockit. There's always 2 here. This is the first one that I don't know if I 100% agree with that it's going to be back here. It shows Insidious back here on this corner, and I just don't think that's going to be the case. I have a hard time believing, I mean, again, it could be 100% the case, but for me, I think it would be weird to have 3 IP houses just locked in a row, instead of kind of spreading them out a little bit more. And usually these 2 right here are always original houses. So it shows Insidious right now, so we'll just talk about that. It is a new Insidious house. I'm not a big fan of that series, but I do anticipate the house to be very scary. I still actually, the promo in it, or promo video that they did do, if you haven't seen it, go check it out on their Twitter. It does look like it could be a pretty interesting theme. That's one thing Insidious does really well is their creature design, so I think it could be a very, very scary house. It's not top of my list right now. It's very close to Exorcist like last year for me, where I was just like, not the biggest fan, but it could end up being a really great house. So right behind me here on the other side here of the Rip Ride Rockit line is going to be supposedly Triplets of Terror. This is one that I'm really not sure about. I mean, usually I can like feel out kind of a feel to a house and be like, oh, you know, it might have this kind of feel to it or this kind of theme to it. But this one just kind of looks like murderers. I mean, it's hard to say with this one. I think this could be a hit or miss house. This could be a really great house, really great original house, big set pieces and stuff, and just a scary house overall. Or it could really not be, and it could be the flop for the year. This one's completely unknown to me. This is definitely one I'm curious about because I don't know where it's gonna go. It could flip either way for me. So there isn't quite anything up over here for the tribute store. I would anticipate the tribute store still to be over here, like it was last year in New York, but nothing up quite yet. We do have a single stage out for the Scare Zone. So I personally don't think this Scare Zone's been announced yet. We do have 3 Scare Zones announcements. One is the one that got announced today. Seems clearly like it's going to be the front Scare Zone at the very front. And then there is another one that got announced that we'll talk about when we're back there that I think undoubtedly will be in the forest area and by the park. So, and then the other one, I kind of feel like it's more of a Hollywood kind of feel. So right now, just a blank stage. They always have kind of a stage here. This is actually a smaller one than normal. They do some sort of usually show in this Scare Zone. They'll usually do like when the Major Suites was here, they would like bring one of the guys up on stage and kill him and stuff. So I anticipate that being the same as it's always been. So I don't think this Scare Zone's been announced yet, just because I think the ones that have been announced have pretty clear areas where they're going to be. Who was it leaving? Though I do want a preference, I could be 100% wrong about that. I would say the 2. The only one I'm not sure about, though, I do think it kind of sounds like a Hollywood Scare Zone. So let me know down below if you think it could be somewhere else, but I think it's pretty surefire of where those might be. So they do have the sidewalk closed back here in this kind of back alley area. I'm assuming there's going to be another food location like last year and the year before back there. It just makes sense. So watch out for that. But no food booth construction yet. We'll see that closer to the date. Good to see the Beat Builders back here. If you didn't know, I'll link the video right now. We were here right before we went to Branson, and the Beat Builders were out in City Walk, and we watched them out in City Walk do their little show. I thought that was interesting. But we are coming up on our next house here. That is on the left side of Fast and Furious. That does go through the Fast and Furious line. So next to Fast and Furious, on these side gates over here, we come to our next original house that is rumored to be, well, back here. We know the house for sure. It's Major Sweet's Candy Factory. Didn't know about 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. They had a scare zone over in New York that was themed to kind of like candy that would make kids like go crazy and killing people and stuff. So this is going to be themed to the factory, like the candy factory. I think this is another for sure bet back here, because if you didn't know, this house kind of always has an in-between section, kind of in a back house area where it just like, it's very like, I guess factory-like, so it makes sense for that middle section where it's outside to be here because it completely fits the theme perfectly. Another one I anticipate to be very good. I like the scare zone. I think I like the factory feel. We did one at Knott's 2 years ago, I think, that was called the Wax Factory, and that was a very good house and a very good feel to it. The factory feel is always a little creepy, so I think if they do this house very good, it will be a really, really good house. So I anticipate a lot from this one. So as we're kind of heading back here past the Fast and Furious exit, you can see a lot of lighting up for this next scare zone. That's another one I don't think has been announced yet. I just don't anticipate this to be any of the scare zones that have been announced. They do have a lot of lighting up though for back here, so we'll talk a little bit about it. They do have a very tall tower back here too that looks like it could kind of be like like a character looking over everything. I will say it's interesting that the cars are not back here for Fast and Furious. I don't know if that's been the case for a while. I don't ride this ride a lot, so it's not one I frequent. The rumors are still showing this one to be kind of themed to... So I'm going to interrupt myself real quick. Somebody actually posted this morning on Twitter. This is the day after I'm editing this. This scare zone in San Francisco has been confirmed to be Blumhouse. They put out a sign this morning with like a giant BH on a house outside the front of the scare zone. So that's pretty for certain. So I'm gonna send you back now. And right past that, they do have already some lighting trusses and the front little photo op here for the bar back here. I think it's like 2 years now that this bar has been back here. Usually they have like characters and stuff that you can take photos with, and kind of being a themed bar back here. So the other thing we do have to talk about while we're back here is going to be back here in Harry Potter. So we're walking back here, I'll look for some props and then we'll start talking about it. So I did hear they already have a lot back here for the Death Eaters. They started this kind of over in Highlands as more of a family-friendly kind of scare, and they do live over here. They started it last year. They do have some props up for it, not a ton. There's just a few smaller props around the land that they have added. They are doing the show back here. I'm gonna go check back in Nocturnal because I heard that there's some props going up back there. So I'm gonna be 1,000 back here. I can't see anything. I have heard there's a few props that have gone up, and it has been speculation that they will move the Death Eaters to be everywhere in here. So they're gonna roam the entire land, and there's gonna be more of them, more like an actual scare zone. I really hope that's the case because I think that would be super cool, though I literally cannot see anything back here. So I could not tell you if there's anything back here. So I don't know how well you could actually see it, but as my eyes have kind of adjusted, I've noticed there's some crates here that I don't think are normal here. So that cements more that the idea of moving them back here. I think it would be super fun if this whole land becomes kind of a big scare zone with a lot of Death Eaters roaming. So as we're walking back here, we are coming up on the Fear Factor stage, and they have announced the show already for this year. Big shocker, it's Nightmare Fuel, but we'll talk a little bit more when we get in front of the sign. So it has been officially announced now that we are getting Nightmare Fuel again this year. It's going to be called Nocturnal Circus. It sounds a little more interesting than normal. I really hope they do change up the formula just a tad. We have had about the same show 3 or 4 years, maybe more. Now, not a big shocker though this is back. It's such a fan favorite. I mean, I love the show every single year. I think it uses such a great mixture of like great performances and music and stuff. I think overall it's a great show, but I do hope they switch up the formula just a tad this year, because we've kind of been doing the same thing for so long now of people just going into their nightmares. They have switched the story up every time to be a little different. Like last year, she became the nightmare instead of letting it control her. So kind of stuff like that. I hope they do more of that this year, but still very excited for this show. Still anticipate it to be very good. So right behind me at the doors right here, it's going to be another one of the houses. It kind of shows 2 back here, but I'm not sure if they're actually both going to entrance here, if one's going to be closer to Men in Black. So we'll just kind of switch up the kind of theme when I'm talking about each of them. So another one that I do think it definitely could be back here. I could definitely see it actually up where Insidious was instead. But this is going to be Goblin's Feast. This is probably my most anticipated house this year. I'm a big fan of fantasy stuff, so having goblins in a house, obviously I think will be very scary. Also very gory. I think this will be a huge gore fest. But I'm very excited for this house. I think this house could be really fun. I have high hopes for it. I hope it lives up to those high hopes, because Dueling Dragons last year is one of my favorite houses they've done. Just because it's just a fun theme. They just don't do a whole lot of medieval stuff. So I'm excited when they do. So very excited for this one. So switching up the scenery a little bit, because it might be back there, or it could just enter right next to Goblin's Feast. This is our only unannounced house this year. Now, the speculation this year has been dead on, so I anticipate it to be pretty correct that we're getting another monster house. This is another one that I don't agree with it being back here. This is definitely, I think, the one I disagree with the most, because there's always a spot where the monster's house is. It's never been anywhere else, so why would they move it? I don't know. I just don't see that being the case. Well, I guess that's not true. They actually did have a monster's house up at the front corral one time, but the last like couple years they've done it in the same spot. I think they'll probably still do it there, so we'll talk about that when we get over there. But it's rumored to be called, I think, like Silver Scream Queens. It's not been officially announced, so take that with a grain of salt. But I do anticipate it being a monster's house. That's kind of a no-brainer. I was really hoping for Creature of the Black Lagoon this year, because that's the only one we haven't seen. Does not seem like that's going to be the case though at this time. Still very excited for it. All the monsters house have been very good. The one last year I liked a lot, especially the entrance for that house was one of my favorites. Like walking in and it being raining and the guard up on the bridge. Oh, it's so great. So I anticipate this one to be very good. But we're going to continue past Men in Black towards that back corner there. So we're back here by the Men in Black bathrooms and the gift shop and stuff here. We come across 2 houses back here, and I do anticipate these both being locations. Don't know about one being back here, because I definitely think it could be switched with someone else. But right behind me right here is going to be Slaughter Sinema 2. I definitely think this is going to be back here, because this is where I remember the other one being, so I think for continuity, I think they would put it back here just for the case of it. I'm very excited for this one. This was actually my first Halloween Horror Nights house, so it's got a little bit of memories there. The first one was pretty good. I always like these kind of anthology houses. One of my favorite Horror Nights house was the detective one from during COVID. I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was 2021. I think it was 2021, where it was kind of an anthology house and you went through different cases and stuff. It's going to be kind of the same thing, obviously with less of an overarching theme what that had, where this is more just like B movies and stuff that have come to life and you're trying to live throughout them. I still anticipate this one to be very good. I anticipate liking this house and it easily being in my top 4. Because the first one was very unique and had a lot to it. There's a lot of different areas and stuff that you normally, like when you're walking through a house, you usually don't get a bunch of different houses in one. Like it's gonna have a ton of different themes in there. Anticipate it being very fun. But I'm gonna move a little bit to talk about our next house right over here. So right behind me where Last of Us was last year, this is rumored to be where the Museum Deadly Exhibits is. This is another one that I think could easily get moved around just because that's a big show building right back there, and that's usually where they put an IP house over a original. Not saying I don't mind a big original house because I love those, but I just could see this definitely getting moved somewhere and this becoming like Insidious. or even possibly Ghostbusters or something back here. This definitely could fit that. Overall, though, this is another house that I'm super excited for. I don't know if I've ever been through a house with a museum theme. I don't think I have, so this is kind of unique. I anticipate this house to have a very fun theme, and definitely another one kind of like the one right next to it, where I think it will overcompass a lot of different themes, obviously all kind of themed to inside a museum. So another one that I anticipate to be very good, and this is another one that I think will rank very high on my list, at least hoping it will. Obviously, this is all just my hopes and what I imagine the houses will be, not always what they actually come out to. So, I didn't even really realize until we were done talking about it. That's it for the houses. We do have 2 or 3 more scare zones actually to talk about. I did want to talk about a little bit. A lot of people were surprised when a lot of speculation maps don't show a house back here in the DreamWorks area, because obviously it's an easy area where you can get back to that one. But I'm not surprised at all. That's a new area. Did not anticipate it being used for horror nights, because then they have to keep the house thing up and kind of ruining the look. But we're heading into the park right now, and this is the only scare zone I think with like real props up, so we'll actually get to see something. So back here we do actually have some big props up actually for this scare zone. I think obviously even seeing it, it's going to be Swamp of the Undead that they did announce. I think it's the 2nd scare zone. This is going to be based in kind of the backwaters of Louisiana. It's clearly going to be kind of zombie themed and stuff like that. They have a lot up actually back here though. They have some dock areas here, some like boats that are like sunk into the water, or supposedly, you know, just mirror. They actually do have some pretty decent sized props, like this big old like tower kind of back here. It's almost like a little house. But yeah, definitely the most built up scare zone so far. I'm liking the feel, but this is I think going to be a little more of a basic feeling scare zone. It's obviously nothing's wrong with that. This is definitely a feel that I feel like has been captured many of times, so this isn't like something that I'm super excited for, but that doesn't mean it won't be great. It could end up being my favorite. Just don't know until we actually see it in action. So as we're kind of walking to the Hollywood area, 2 things I want to talk about. First is there's supposedly going to be another roaming horde kind of thing, kind of like Megan from last year. It shows in this area, but could be like Megan like last year, where they were just kind of wherever they felt like being. I don't know what the theme is this year. I hope that they kind of decide a little bit better on times for things. So like have an actual time for this instead of just having it kind of random. Because I did not like it like that. I never almost got to see them, because I never, like, there was never a time period, and when they would come out, they would get swarmed. The other thing I want to talk about is Lagoon Show. Wish we were getting one this year, because that honestly was one of my favorite parts about Horror Nights 2 years ago. That Lagoon Show was great, man. I understand why we're not. They just opened the Lagoon Show again, so obviously their team probably behind that hasn't had time to work on a new one. But I'm really hoping that next year we do get that. We're entering Hollywood right now, so we'll talk a little bit about some scare zone. There's only a few lighting trusses though back here. So back here there is a little bit of scaffolding up for lighting and stuff. Not a whole lot, obviously, still. I'm kind of curious to see what they do back here, because right now there is the parade coming through here, so they won't be able to leave out props like they normally do, just kind of out on the street and stuff. So if they do have props for the scare zone, I don't anticipate them being rolled out until night of the event kind of thing, because they can't really crowd the street. So there's 2 things this could be. So the other one that's been announced, other than the one we're going to talk about at the front, is called Torture Fair. It's going to be themed kind of like a Renaissance fair, another kind of medieval one that I'm super excited for. It either could be here in Hollywood or it could be over in the New York area. It's been speculated a ton this year that Blumhouse will be getting a scare zone for its anniversary. Not been announced, but this is one of the areas that people think it could be. I can definitely see it. But I could see it also over actually at the end of Fast and Furious area, where they usually have kind of IP scare zones back there. But very excited for the Torture Fair one. I think that will be another great one. I think it could be another very gory one, kind of like the one that was there last year. Hoping this one gets more props though. I think last year it felt a little barren. We're coming back full around though. We're about at the front, and this is the other one that just got announced, and I'm like nearly 99% positive that it's going to be up here at the front. All right, so sorry to chime in right now. It's a little bit after we got done filming, but they did announce another scare zone. They did announce Demon Queens that says, get caught in the otherworldly hellscape rip from the darkest corners of your mind, where the four merciless queens loyal to Surreal rule. So it kind of seems like the Sinister and Surreal are the icons for this year. If I had to guess, maybe there's another scare zone that's themed to Sinister, because this one's themed to Surreal. I came over here to Hollywood because that kind of seems like a Hollywood scare zone. It just kind of has that feel to it, you know? So I wouldn't be surprised if it's over there, but it might also be all the way over in New York too. So back to me. So we are back up at the front over here. I'm going to read verbatim what it says on the thing about this scare zone. So this is going to be called Duality of Fear. It says that as soon as you enter Halloween Horror Nights, you must choose a path, the visceral horror of Sinister or the unearthly terror of Surreal. So I'm kind of curious. Hold on, I'm putting away my phone. I'm kind of curious to see what this ends up being. I'm hoping they end up extending this scare zone, because in the last couple years it's kind of just been there and like kind of along the strip here. It's not been great. I think they could do a lot more with it. Kind of seems like they might extend it fully to the beginning of Minions, possibly even into Minions, and then extend it down here too. That kind of seems like it's going to be the major theme this year, maybe with the icons, is those two different characters. I'm actually very excited for this scare zone, what they've announced for it. It's having two different paths as soon as you walk in, I think could be really, really cool. And usually the scare zone's kind of more of a gimme, where it's just like a bunch of the things from the year, and it probably still will be that. But if they can kind of keep the two themes separate, I think that would be really cool, actually. And that's not, I don't usually say that because I don't think the scare zone is usually that exciting. I'm gonna wrap out in just a second, because that's about it for us for today. Actually, before I send you back to me to wrap up for the video, I did kind of forget the Insidious the Further. It's got merchandise in the 5.9. Kind of, you know, basic announcement house shirt. Not my favorite, but they do have a scented candle, and they haven't done that for many of the houses. But not my favorite. But if you like Insidious or you're excited for this house, it is back here. Alright, I'm going to send you back to me to wrap up now. So that about wraps it up for us today. It's very hot out here. So if you liked it, I really appreciate it if you like. And make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you guys are excited for this year. Or if you think something's going to be switched off, if you think for sure a scare zone somewhere, let me know, because I like to hear that. But yeah, let me know what you're excited for this year. I'm definitely most excited for Goblin's Feast, Deadly Museum. Monstruos sounds really good. I'm really excited for the scare zones actually so far this year. This front one seems like it could be really interesting. I do think the Renaissance Fair one could be really cool too, with lots of gore and stuff. So again, just let me know. Let me know what you're excited for. So thanks for watching. I hope this brought a little more joy into your day, and we'll see you guys next time.